Negotiating is truly an art form, but it is not always easy.
Yeah, that's why we have a happiness coach joining us after the break to help women get what they want. The top tips to keep in mind.
Maybe it's something you've already mastered, or maybe you're not sure where to start, but today we are talking about the art of negotiation, particularly when it comes to women.
Yeah, joining us is happiness coach Dannie De Novo with some tips to help us get what we want when we want it. That's the key right there. Hello and welcome. Good to see you.
It's so good to be back.
This is such a hard topic because women especially, it's very difficult to ask for what you want. You're always scared, right? I mean, at least speaking from personal, experience, when we want that raise, we want that promotion, and to speak up and fight for yourself.
Well, so women don't ask, and typically women see things as non-negotiable, while men typically do see them as negotiable. So first you have to ask. But when it comes to being a better negotiator, I always ask myself, who can I not say no to? And when it comes to me, it's two people. Well, it's one person, my 8-year-old daughter and my dog. I have a hard time holding the line with either one of them. And why is that? Because dogs and children are innocent and they are authentic. And when you come to the table as a negotiator, more authentic, you will be better at it. And this is why. Because when you're authentic, that builds trust. And when you have trust, you build rapport. And people who like you want to give you what you want.
So come from an honest place. Like, do you have an example of like showing your authenticity?
I think you just come to the table as you are. You don't have to show all of your cards, but you also don't want to go there playing games or being deceitful on purpose. You just really want to show up as you are, what you're looking for.
I love that tip because that seems simple and people don't have to try to play games, right? Just be yourself. The second tip you have is that, it's not all about me. It's also about the other person. I always think about that because you have to think, what do I have to offer them? Like, how are they benefiting?
Well, you need to know that because it gives you valuable pieces of information. So you really want to put their self-interest in the forefront and kind of put yours in the check. When I was a baby lawyer, I went out to buy a car, and I wanted to get an Acura, but I didn't think I could afford it, so I ended up at the Honda lot. And no one there was really helpful because they weren't really interested in my self-interest. They didn't care why I was there. They saw my crappy old car and my baby face, and they figured, oh, she's not even going to buy anything. So I went over to the Acura dealer, and they hooked me up. And I said, look, I don't even know if I can afford this. And the manager said, well, what price do you need? And I said, well, I wanted to pay X. And he reached out his hand, he shook my hand, he said, congrats on your new car. He turned to the salesman and he said, Ryan, congrats on your first sale. Right? So I wasn't even thinking about what they were looking for. They wanted to make a sale. They wanted to make this guy's first sale, but they also wanted my repeat business. They wanted me to keep coming back. And if I had thought about that from the beginning, I would have just gone straight there. Now, it worked out okay for me, but I could have ended up with a car I really didn't even want.
All right, and the next tip is think about hypotheticals. What do you mean by that?
I want you to go through this exercise before a negotiation if you can. What would happen if I had to walk away? Now, we have some negotiations in life where, the stakes are probably a little bit higher, but generally speaking, there's not as much at stake as we're willing to admit sometimes. So if you don't get the car, okay, you'll find another one. If you don't get the house that you love, it's disappointing, maybe even heartbreaking, but you'll find another house. So say to yourself, especially when you're intimidated or when you're frozen or when things are just not going your way, what would happen if I walked away and just picked the worst case scenario? And that gives you more empowerment. You feel like, okay, you know what? I'm going to be all right no matter what.
Those scenarios I could see, but when it comes to your job, you might not be as willing to take that risk. I feel as though I would be hesitant to push too hard for something like that.
When it comes to your job, again, I would say be authentic, but also when it comes to negotiating, you want to start looking at it more as a collaboration versus a war. It doesn't always have to be you versus them. It's really kind of how can we work together, right? It's not all or nothing. It's more about compromise.
I like that.
Right, something in the middle.
Yeah, I like that. A collaboration rather than a war. I can get behind that. Dannie, thanks so much. And if you want to get more tips on happiness, quick happiness hacks, just read up on her website. Go to DannieDeNovo.com. And with that, we'll be right back.
So good to see you. Those are great ideas, great tips. It's so hard, though, to really
it's hard
put
to
in place.
Here.